croeso. Welcome to episode 71 of the Calon Yarns podcast. My name is Lynn and I'm coming to you from Cardiff in Wales in the UK, and this is a podcast primarily about knitting, but sometimes crochet, spinning, dyeing, other crafts, but yes, primarily a knitting podcast. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you're well, and if you are a returning viewer, as always, thank you so much for coming back. If you haven't yet already subscribed, then please consider doing that. It would be great to have you on board, and then you'll get a little notification of every time I podcast. So I'm hoping that, you know, the knitting mojo, the autumnal knitting mojo is kicking in, and I'll be here a little bit more often. So let's hope, fingers crossed, the mojo continues. So what have I got to talk about today? We will follow the usual process. Apologies for the light. My ring light had just decided that it was going to break. The wires have come off. So I need to get a screwdriver and fix that, and then I'll be losing light. So I've decided just to podcast anyway. So apologies if the light is a little bit odd today, but it is a gorgeous, crisp, autumnal September day here in Cardiff today. So yeah, hopefully there's enough light to see me by and see all my lovely bits and bobs by. So I have got a finished object. I know. It's been a long time since I've had a proper garment finished object, so I'm very pleased to talk through this in a moment. I have a couple of works in progress. I have a possible project. I think, you know, when you kind of one project is finished and you're ready for the next one, I'll chat through some possible projects. It's not an acquisition, it's a gift. So does that count as acquisition? I'm not sure. New to me yarn, which I have ideas for in a project, and there's a couple of answers to questions that some of you posed last week. So yes, excuse me, I've got an itchy nose already. And then some general chit chat at the end. So I hope you have a knitting project. I hope you have a cup of tea or coffee, and I can keep you company while you do a few rows or rounds on your project. Anyway, so finally I have a finished object to show you. What am I wearing indeed? So this is the Pavuk Vest by Teti Lutsak, I think it is. I will pop all the details down below. But Teti Knits Garden. I always get the wrong way around. Or is it Teti's Knit Garden? You'll see, because I will put the details down below. So this is the Pavuk Vest, as I say. Before I show you it in its full glory, I have knitted this out of, I had 4 balls of Phenol PT2. So there's the ball band. It is a real workhorse yarn. Oh, that light isn't really helping, is it? There we go. Phenol PT2 by Rama Yarn. In this lovely kind of cherry red colour, very deep, almost kind of claret, I suppose. The shade is 0497. So yeah, it is a real workhorse, and it's quite stiff when you knit it, but once you block it, and certainly after you've worn it for a few weeks, it gets really soft and starts to kind of block itself almost. I have blocked it. I blocked it last night, completely submerged it rather than spray blocked it, because it is that kind of rustic yarn. It kind of needs time to suck in that moisture and then to settle all the stitches. So I'm really pleased with it. Let me just get up a little bit. So as you can see, it's got this detailing at the front, this extra bit of colour work here, this nice central line through the collar rib. Very boxy. I've decided to have it sit just about the waistline, but I think I was pretty much following the pattern anyway, so no adaptations there really in terms of length, because by the time you've followed the chart and then you've got here, you're following the pattern as is. Square shoulders, droop shoulders, however you want to describe them. I can't quite remember how she describes them in the pattern. So there is a couple of options for shoulders, but I chose the more boxier option. And then, yeah, what else to say really? No other adaptations. I think there's 2 versions that you can have a slightly deeper section here. But I think I took the slightly longer one because I wanted a little longer than the very shallow one, which would only be 1 repeat. This repeat here is an extra. Either you can just go straight from the middle to here. So yeah, I very much like it, and already my camera, the battery is out of charge, so give me 1 second. There we go, I am back. Yes, so have I made any pattern adaptations? No, not really. The only thing I would say is that with the pick up stitches around the arms, I followed the pattern, but the amount of stitches that she says to pick up, I think they're a little bit too many, so it's a little bit, it kind of splays out a little bit under the arm. I think there's slightly too many all in all. So what I did around the vest, the neckline, is that I just kind of picked up where seemed sensible, pretty much on the end of every row, but not always every row. So I think I was around 6 stitches on each side shorter than the pattern suggests, and that I think was a better fit. It kind of sits nice and flat. So I would say just be careful when you're picking up around the edges. It may well be that my gauge is off. I didn't really do a gauge swatch, sorry. But yeah, I did find that there was a few too many stitches when you pick up a knit if you follow the stitch guide that she suggests. So I didn't do that on this section here, and it does seem to sit nice and flat. Yeah, as I say, I think 6 less either side, and it has that nice a nice edge to it. Although on the pattern, the ribbing, you do knit 1, purl 1 rib, and then at the very edge then you do a final row of knit all the way around, and then you cast off in purl, and that does create a nice neat edge. I don't know if you can see a little bit more closely, a really nice neat edge. So I would definitely do that again. I think there's a few things I've got that have that a button band or a picked up edge that feels like a nice solid structured but neat edge. So yes, I like it very much. I will be wearing it to Stitch Fest in Newton Abbot at the end of the month. I think it's is it the 31st of October or the 1st of November? Can't quite remember, but it's certainly the first weekend in November. So heading down there to Devon with Carol and Tracy. So this will be my garment to wear to that. However, I have lost it already. My daughter saw it and was like, oh, that's nice. And I was like, oh, okay, good. She was like, no, that's really nice. I was like, oh, would you like it? And she said, yeah, I would actually. And I really like it too. But when your child says they like something you've knitted, like it so much that they would wear it, it kind of trumps everything else, doesn't it? They're 25, so you know, these moments don't happen very often. They'll do that, oh yeah, that's nice, but you can tell it's like nice for you, but I'm very impressed. She very much liked the sleeves. So there you go. So I may only get to wear it once at Stitch Fest, but that's fine by me. It's very difficult, isn't it, to kind of knit for that age group. But if they're happy, I'm happy. So yeah, this will be gifted to Moll. So I'm excited to do that. I'm excited to see her in it, because she has been on a pretty epic trip actually, which I'll tell you about at the end. But maybe that trip has eased her into some kind of different types of knitwear, shall we say. Anyway, I'll tell you about that later. So yes, finished object, very happy. Pattern really clear. The only thing I would say that wasn't particularly clear, and I did have to drop Teti a line, I did email her, she got back to me really quickly, that was great. Just around the picking up of stitches, I couldn't quite work out which bits I was supposed to pick up where, because you leave certain stitches live. So yeah, when you're reading that little section, it might need a little bit extra clarity, or drop her an email if you get there, because I could tell you now and you'll forget. So yeah, that was the only bit I needed clarity on, but other than that, her patterns are always really clear and always kind of are the size that she says they're going to be. So yes, complete, finished object, yay! So maybe moving on to works in progress. So I've got a couple of bits and pieces of works in progress. Where to go first? Maybe I have a set of socks that I actually thought I'd finished, but obviously I haven't. But these are socks for my husband. They are just I think these are opal or a regia band, a ball of sock wool, and then I've done one with a yellow toe. I had a bit of West Yorkshire spinners left over for a yellow toe. I didn't quite have enough, so I went back to the stripy yarn there. So I've got quite a bit left actually. So I might, because I don't have any yellow left, I will probably complete the heels for these in the ball yarn already, because I think what will happen is the width of the socks there creates that sort of pattern. When I'm doing the heel with the same yarn, the pattern will be slightly different because obviously there'll be less stitches. I'm going to sneeze. So yeah, I will thread in and do the afterthought heels for that. Oh, I might have the ball band actually. Look at me. Yes, I do. So yeah, it is an opal. There we go. Opal, go. Come on now. There we go. Opal Zauberwald, and it's 11445 3634. So yeah, it's very nice. It's a nice nice colour. So they should be done in the next few days, which is lovely, because it's boot weather now, isn't it? We've hit autumn and the boots have come out, so he's going to need some more socks to wear with his boots. And then another set of socks. So this was from, I don't know why I threw the box away. This was a set of, a packet of sock yarn, because in the box were two yarn cakes like this. So two yarn cakes like that in the box, so that you can have matching self-striping socks. It's Unique, U-N-E-E-K, that's the brand, and I got it from Canada a couple of years ago. Never, obviously, well, I'm not saying obviously, but I've never seen the brand anywhere else. But a couple of people dropped me a line and said, yeah, it's a great sock yarn, you won't have any problems with that at all. So, and it's been really nice to knit with, but it's not got a very tight spin to it. So there are a few occasions where, particularly when you're casting on, and you know I generally do the thumb cast on, but it kind of untwists on itself. It's very, very soft, so maybe that's what it is. It doesn't really have that, it doesn't stick to itself in that spin. Hopefully it'll still be hard wearing, but you know, it kind of untwists and it can wear through a little bit quicker. So I'm not sure. Feels lovely and soft, but we'll see whether it's a workhorse yarn like a West Yorkshire Spinners or an opal is. But this is the tube, which is fun. So this is the tube. I tend to do my tube around 34 centimeters before I then start creating the toe. But I don't know what it is. I just can't do purple. I don't know. Maybe something happened to me in a past life to do with purple. I don't know. And I have nothing against purple, and I know a lot of people love purple and lilac. I just can't do it. I can almost taste it. Does that sound really weird? Does anybody else have that? I look at it and it doesn't leave a very nice taste in my mouth. So I don't know. I should have just cut it out, because I've got enough left in this skein. I should have just cut it out really. But at least it'll be in my shoe. But I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is about purple, but we just don't get on. So I don't know. I don't know if I'm gonna wear these now, because it just, I don't like the flavour of that colour. I don't know. Anyway, I do have quite a bit left, so I will probably do the heels with this as well, just to use it all up. But maybe I'll start after the purple. There's not much left there, and it's sneaky, you see, because you can't, I suppose you can see it a little bit, but you don't really know that there's purple in there. It looks a bit kind of cherry like when you see it in the middle of the ball, but it's snuck in there. Anyway, I tend to do my socks on the, I think this is a sock and runder, either that or a very short cable needle, 2.5, and then I will do the afterthought heels. So where I will place the heel now, I've done the toe, so now I've got my tube down to the toe. So then I'll find another pair of socks that I've used before. So this is also a pair of, no, I think these are Gumi 50 Berger de France. So because I know that this is a size of a sock that's really good for me and works well, I will place that next to that sock before I decide where to add the needles to be able to then cut for the, to snip then for the heel, to add that afterthought heel in. So I'll probably pop the needles in there tonight to get that ready for the new heels. Yeah, so we're happy with it. Just a bit sad of the sneaking in of the purple. It's weird, isn't it? Do you taste colour? I don't taste any other colour. It's just purple or lilac. I don't know. Although I do like what are they called? The forget-me-not sweets. Are they called forget-me-not sweets? They're very lilac. You know, the ones that are. Oh, what's the flavour? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. So they are my socks. They're in progress. Oh, somebody asked me what the cuff was that I was talking about in a couple of episodes previously. A slightly different cuff, and I have found it. It is in the Rachel Coop. Rachel Coopy is the designer. Coop Knits Socks. Yeah. Volume 1. Carol, Volume 1. But yeah, that is the, I like that cuff. I use that cuff on just vanilla socks really. I'll start off with that cuff and then go into a vanilla sock if I can't be bothered to follow a chart for a pattern. But these are the Shirley socks. Where are they? Don't call me Shirley. Yeah, these are the Shirley socks from that book. You might be able to get them individually on Ravelry. But yes, I can't quite remember your name of who asked me where that pattern was from. But yeah, Rachel Coopy socks. Yeah. So what else to tell you? I think this is probably going to be quite a short episode this week. Yeah, my yarn gift or purchase. So Moll, my daughter, she went to Bergen with her friends for a few days. I know, very, very jealous. And she said, oh, do you want anything from the yarn shops? So I was like, yeah. But I said, I'll make you a hat or a pair of socks, whatever, so you're not carrying loads of things around. So you find a yarn that you really like and I will make you a hat from it. So she found this, it's a Hillersvåg, which, as we know, is my favouriteest yarn brand in the world. I'm not sure whether that's coming up because I can't sneak my head in. Yes, so Hillersvåg, and is it Fjell? It's a sock yarn, I think, but it looks like it's a double knitting. Norwegian wool, 3.5 to 4 millimeters, 80% wool and 20% nylon. So a good workhorse sock yarn, but she wants a hat. Now, I think it's really lovely and soft, but she's not sure about it being on her head. So what I've seen, not the pattern, but what I've seen is you can create like a ribbed hat, but a big tube. So clearly I'm obsessed with tubes, anything to save time. So you create a big tube and then you pull in this end and you go all the way to the end and you pull in that end and then you push one inside the other. So you've got a double thickness rolly up fisherman's hat. So I think I'm going to do that, have a go at that, see what that's like, because I can always pull it back. I won't pull it back, it'll be fine. Although I suppose it's not really Norwegian weather here. It won't be that cold. But I'm going to put her inside, I'm going to put them inside something a little bit softer. So I've got this DK Blueface Leicester, which is an undyed Blueface Leicester. But the DK feels a lot thinner than that DK. I know it's not exactly on brand colour-wise. This is much whiter. But I do have a skein of grey lace weight yarn, which was actually gifted to me. I can't remember the name of the lady for quite a while ago, which was very, very lovely. But I don't know that I'm going to use this. I very rarely do kind of lace weight shawls or whatever anymore. I did for a good while and crocheted a lot of lace weight shawls. Anyway, so I think I'll probably put these two together, because this is a DK, as I say, but this is definitely slightly thicker. So that should come to the same thickness. So what I'll do is I will knit this part of the tube, and then I'll knit this part of the tube, so just carry on. So then the inside will be the softer yarn that will go close to her head. Does that make sense? In my head, it's really easy, but there will probably, no doubt, be a fatal trap in there somewhere, and it's probably to do with where you start the second set of colours, because you don't want them to show. Even though you've got a lip here, I guess you'll need to allow for the lip so it starts further down. Don't know. I'm sure it'll become clear as I'm doing it. If anybody's got a pattern, let me know, but I think I should be able to work it out on the way. We'll see. Watch this space. So that's a project that I'll be doing soon, and she won't need it quite yet because it's a crisp in the air, but it's certainly, yeah. So that I will start in the next week or so, and then thinking about the next garment. So in the last episode, I had a few different options of combinations, but a lot of the patterns I were looking for or looking at were DK, and a lot of the yarn I have is 4-ply. So I don't know. I think I'm going to need longer to ruminate on what is next project-wise with those yarns, using those yarns. So in the meantime, I have seen, and I can't remember what podcast I was watching, but they talked about this pattern on that. It's a little vest, and I can't remember the name of it now. Bear with. I got it. It is the Ridgeline vest by Wool and Pine. So there's a pic of it there. Will it show up? Can you see? Yeah, there's a pic of it there. So it's just a very small vest, but it's in a rib and it's quite snug, quite tight fitting. Not a vest, probably a waistcoat, a waistcoat. So it's quite snug, quite fitted. Seems to have quite a nice ribbed pattern and some shaping here. I think it's all knitted in one piece. And she's done it out of a cotton wool mix, cotton merino mix, I think. And I have quite a bit of Debbie Bliss merino wool cotton to use up. So it takes around, the size I'm going to make takes around around 500 meters, I think. So I have enough of the Debbie Bliss Mia, come on, there we go, which is wool cotton. That pattern is Aran, but this definitely feels a little bit thicker than a double knit, and when you knit it on a 3.5 and a 4mm, which is what that's suggesting, it does feel quite stiff, which I think is absolutely fine. So I have enough to do that, and hopefully that'll be a kind of a cleanser project to see what's next. I've got a few kind of greens, autumnal greens, t-shirts and trousers, etc. But I think that might be quite nice because I am kind of running hot, as they say at the moment. So something just to be able to slip on. And also I'd like to start doing a bit more autumn hikes. So I think something that's small, an underlayer, as it were, under layers, just layers. A nice wool cotton layer I think would be quite nice to have as part of that. You don't want to go from just a long sleeve to then a big coat on in this weather. You're never quite sure what it's going to be. So hopefully I will find some use for that. So a good opportunity to use up some stash. An interesting pattern. I've seen quite a few kind of waistcoaty vest things on people's podcasts recently. So we'll have a go at that while I'm musing on the next Colourworks sweater project, because I would like to have another Colourworks sweater. Nellie and Eve has just updated their shop, so I must have a look at her stuff tonight. I know there's an oatmeal yarn coming in there, so that might be a good match for something. We will see, we will see. But anything else to tell you? No, I don't think so. Yarn wise, knitting wise, I think we are good. So if you're just here for the yarn shenanigans, that's probably that done. Life-wise, so yeah, if you're leaving me now, thank you so much for joining me. If you're hanging around, got a few more rows to do, I must start doing this with a project so I can kind of knit along with you for a while. What to say really, this month has flown by. All of a sudden here we are in autumn, back to work proper. I mean, you know, summer doesn't really happen in universities in the same way as it does with schools. So yes, Freshers Week last week, lessons start next week, so a really lovely bunch of students have arrived. They seem really quiet this year. I don't know, they seem quieter than they ordinarily are, but yeah, maybe they're a studious bunch, I don't know. But yeah, so they seem to be settling in okay, so it's nice to kind of get that deciding projects out of the way so that when I'm back and forth to campus, I can take with me projects that I know I've got planned. I haven't got to do too much head work to get them going. So yeah, so that's all good. Travels wise, we were off to Hay-on-Wye in the camper van last weekend. We stayed at Baskerville Hall, Hound of the Baskervilles fame. Yeah, so it was a really curious place. So the building, the hall itself is beautiful, and you can see that in its day the grounds were just amazing, the views were incredible, and there's like an equestrian school as well there now, but they've converted quite a bit of the grounds into a campsite, which was lovely, very, very basic, which is all we needed. We were only there for one night, we just wanted to have a couple of days in Hay-on-Wye, and then you could go into the hotel for food in the evening. But yeah, the hotel was a little bit shabby, which is such a shame because it's such a beautiful place. So hopefully, but then these old houses, aren't they? They must take an absolute immense amount of money to keep going. But we had a really, really lovely time. The food was lovely. The people were really, really helpful. But yeah, it's curious. And in fact, when you went in, the hall of the place was all slate on the floor. And then there was a grand staircase in front of you that kind of went, you know, like a very symmetrical, 1860s I think it was, very symmetrical, and up this grand staircase into the landings. But on the top of the stairs was this massive fireplace, which was a real flex, I thought, to have a fireplace on the landing. It was amazing. So yeah, that was really nice. Still bemoaning not being on tour in the Alps and the Pyrenees. We had such a great summer, so that feels sad not to be doing that. Big come down, summer blues come down this year. Do you often get that when you had a really lovely summer away, that it takes a lot to kind of get back into the daily grind? But there we go, we've got to kind of save up for the next big trip, don't we? Family are doing well. Anything exciting to add? Oh, I'm probably interrupting myself here, but I forgot to tell you. So Moll, where she got the yarn from. So they went with their friends. There's about 4 or 5 of them went to Bergen for a few days, which I think I've said. But they did so much. I'm so jealous. And they went to Bergen and they booked ahead. They booked a restaurant that they'd seen on Instagram that did like amazing seafood on an island somewhere. They had rented a car. They booked speedboats or power boats to self-drive through this massive fjord. They went up and booked a couple of log cabins up in the woods to have a couple of days up in the woods. A place called Flam. I don't know. What else did they do? They went to a couple of museums that they'd all booked ahead of time, and it just made me think, they did so much, you know, obviously very, very jealous, but they did such an amazing amount of things that they had booked even before they got there, and it just blows my mind. I think, you know, when I used to travel around their age, not that I went very far, but I always remember arriving in a place. First thing you do is go to the tourist information office to pick up all the leaflets, the pamphlets, the maps, etc. Have a little look what's going on, ask for recommendations. But of course now with the internet, with Instagram, etc., you can kind of plan your trip before you go. You know the highlights, you know where you should be heading even before you go. And And that's amazing, and it means that they did so much, really experienced the area fully. Yeah, just like super jealous. Although I suppose when you're doing that, it means that you're also not necessarily just going with the flow because you've already decided what you're going to do. Maybe it's harder to just see when you get there. But I think, you know, to be fair, I think they did have a couple of days where they hadn't got anything booked in, so they could just see what came their way. But yeah, very jealous. But amazingly, they've said that Bergen is definitely a place they could see themselves living. So you're like, oh please, please do, because then I can come visit you and go to all the lovely yarn shops and have a nice time. Yes, so watch out Norway, you might have a new member of the team heading over. But yes, I just thought I'd jump in to say that because I thought it was fascinating how much, and in fact my niece had been to Rome, and she's only 18, over the summer, and again with a group of friends. Everybody booked something for a day. Everybody was responsible for a day of booking an event, something to do. Aren't they organised, these youngsters? Fair play. I'm very impressed. Anyway, back to what I was saying before. Yeah, it's just getting head back into work game. So I think I'll probably wrap up there. It hasn't been a very long episode, I don't think, which you're probably very thankful of. But yeah, nice to catch up with you all. Drop me a line, let me know what your plans are for your autumn knits. Always good to see what's going on. And I will hopefully catch up with you very soon. Okay then gang, take care of yourselves. Diolch, thanks for coming along. I will speak to you very soon. Diolch pawb, bye.